If you're over 50 and you've noticed that exercise doesn't feel the same way it used to, I want you to know something important. You're not imagining it. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. There's a fundamental shift happening in your body that almost nobody talks about in the fitness world. It's not about effort. It's not about willpower. And it's certainly not about being too old to stay strong. What's changing is the way your nervous system communicates with your muscles, the way your joints tolerate load, and the way your body prioritizes stability over raw power. And if you don't understand this shift, you can work incredibly hard and still feel like you're moving backward. I'm a professor of exercise physiology, and I've spent decades studying how the human body adapts to movement across the lifespan. What I want to share with you today is why the exercise advice that worked beautifully in your 30s and 40s often stops working after 50, and what actually needs to change if you want to stay strong, balanced, and independent for the rest of your life. This is not a conversation about giving up or scaling back. This is about understanding what your body needs now so you can train it effectively for the decades ahead. Let's start by understanding what made exercise feel so effective when you were younger. In your 20s, 30s, even into your early 40s, your body had a few things working in its favor. Your nervous system fired quickly and accurately. When you decided to move, the signal from your brain to your muscles was fast and precise. Your joints tolerated impact and repetition without much complaint. Your muscles recovered quickly, even after hard workouts. And perhaps most importantly, your stabilizer muscles, the smaller, deeper muscles that control balance and joint alignment, were doing their job automatically, without you ever thinking about them. This meant you could lift weights, go for a run, take a fitness class, and your body would respond predictably. You'd get stronger, you'd build endurance, you'd see progress. The equation was simple. Put in the work, get the results. And for most people, that equation held true for years, decades even. But after 50, something shifts. And it's not just one thing. It's a cascade of changes that happen gradually, quietly, in the background. Most people don't notice them until they've accumulated to the point where exercise starts to feel frustrating, unrewarding, or even risky. Research from institutions like the National Institute on Aging shows that starting around age 50, the speed of nerve signal transmission begins to slow. This doesn't mean your brain stops working. It means the communication between your brain and your muscles becomes slightly less efficient. The electrical impulses that tell your muscles to contract take a fraction of a second longer to arrive. You may not notice it consciously, but your body does. And over time, this delay affects coordination, reaction time, and the quality of your movement. At the same time, your joint cartilage, which has been absorbing impact for decades, starts to wear down. The fluid inside your joints becomes less effective at cushioning movement. Your tendons and ligaments lose some of their elasticity. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your joints have a lower threshold for what they can tolerate before they start to hurt. Activities that used to feel fine, running, jumping, even certain types of strength training, can now leave you sore in ways that feel different from the muscle soreness you remember. And here's the part that almost nobody explains. Your muscle fibers, especially the fast twitch fibers responsible for explosive power, begin to decline more rapidly than the slow twitch fibers that help with endurance. Studies indicate that adults lose fast twitch muscle fiber at nearly twice the rate of slow twitch fiber after age 50. This is why movements that require quick reactions, catching yourself when you stumble, stepping off a curb, pivoting to avoid something become harder. It's not a matter of strength in the traditional sense. It's a matter of speed, precision, and neuromuscular coordination. Let that sink in for a moment. The exercises you've been doing may still be building strength, but if they're not addressing nerve signaling, joint tolerance, and stabilizer function, you're training a body that no longer exists. You're using a program designed for a younger nervous system, younger joints, and a different set of physical priorities. And that's why so many people feel frustrated. They're doing everything right according to the advice they've followed for years, but the results aren't there anymore. So here's the hidden problem that almost nobody in the fitness world talks about. After 50, your body doesn't just need strength, it needs stability. And stability is not the same thing as strength. Strength is the ability to generate force. It's what allows you to push, pull, lift, and carry. Stability, on the other hand, is the ability to control that force, especially when your body is in motion or off balance. It's what keeps your joints aligned, your spine protected, and your movements efficient. Think about walking down the street. It seems like a simple activity, something you've done millions of times in your life. But every time your foot hits the ground, your body has to stabilize your pelvis, your spine, your knee, and your ankle, all in a fraction of a second. If your stabilizer muscles aren't firing correctly, your brain has to recruit larger muscles to compensate. This creates inefficient movement patterns, and over time it leads to pain, stiffness, and a loss of confidence. This is why so many people over 50 say things like, "I can still lift weights, but I don't feel stable on my feet anymore," or "I do my workouts, but my back always hurts afterward," or "I feel strong in the gym, but I still worry about tripping when I'm walking outside." The issue isn't weakness. The issue is that the deeper, stabilizing muscles that used to fire automatically are no longer doing their job. And if your workouts aren't activating them, they're not going to wake up on their own. Evidence from peer-reviewed research in journals like the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity shows that balance and proprioception, your body's awareness of where it is in space, decline significantly after age 50 if they're not specifically trained. And here's what's critical. Most traditional exercise routines don't train them. They train movement. They train strength. But they don't train control. And control is what keeps you safe. Control is what keeps you independent. Control is what allows you to move through the world with confidence instead of fear. Let me give you a specific example that illustrates this perfectly, because I think it will help you understand what's happening in your own body. Everyone knows the gluteus maximus. It's the large muscle in your backside. It's what you feel working when you climb stairs, stand up from a chair, or do a squat. It's a powerful muscle, and it's important. Most traditional leg exercises, squats, lunges, step-ups, do a great job of training the gluteus maximus. But there's another muscle in that same area that most people have never heard of, the gluteus medius. The gluteus medius sits on the side of your hip. It's much smaller than the gluteus maximus, but it has a completely different job. Its primary function is to stabilize your pelvis when you're standing on one leg. And here's the thing, every time you walk, you're standing on one leg. Every single step. For a fraction of a second, your entire body weight is balanced on one foot, and it's the gluteus medius that keeps your pelvis level. If your gluteus medius isn't strong and responsive, your pelvis drops on the opposite side with every step. This creates a chain reaction. Your lower back has to work harder to keep you upright. Your knee has to twist inward to compensate. Your ankle rolls slightly with each step. You might not even notice these tiny compensations consciously, but your body feels them. And over time, they add up. Over time, this compensation leads to chronic lower back pain, knee pain, hip discomfort, and an increased risk of falls. And the frustrating part is that you can have incredibly strong legs and still have this problem because the gluteus medius isn't trained by traditional leg exercises. You can squat heavy weights and still have a weak, unresponsive gluteus medius. The two systems are operating independently. Research from Harvard Health and the CDC consistently points to pelvic instability as one of the leading contributors to falls in older adults. And falls, as you may know, are one of the most serious health risks for people over 65. A fall can mean a broken hip, a loss of independence, a cascade of health complications that drastically alter quality of life. But here's what's encouraging. Studies show that targeted stabilizer training can reverse this. In controlled trials, older adults who incorporated balance and stability exercises saw measurable improvements in gait, posture, and fall risk within just a few weeks. Some studies showed reductions in fall risk by as much as 30 to 40%. The body is still capable of adapting. It just needs to be trained in the right way. So why don't most workout programs address this? Because most fitness routines were designed with younger bodies in mind. They were built around the assumption that if you work the big muscle groups, everything else will follow. And for a 25-year-old, that's often true. Their stabilizers are already firing. Their nervous system is already coordinated. Their joints are resilient enough to handle the stress. But after 50, that assumption breaks down. Traditional strength training focuses on what we call global movements, exercises that involve multiple joints and large muscle groups, squats, lunges, deadlifts, rows, presses. These are excellent exercises. They build strength, they improve function, and they should absolutely be part of a well-rounded program. But if your stabilizers aren't firing, your body will compensate. You'll shift your weight to one side. You'll round your back. You'll let your knees collapse inward. You'll grip the equipment tighter to feel more stable. And over time, these compensation patterns become ingrained. Your nervous system learns them. They become your default way of moving. This is why you can do the same workout for months and still feel wobbly, still feel off balance, still feel like something isn't quite right. You're not getting weaker. You're just reinforcing movement patterns that your body has learned to use in the absence of proper stabilization. And the fitness industry, with all its good intentions, has not done a great job of explaining this to people over 50. There's a lot of emphasis on intensity, on pushing harder, on no pain, no gain. There's a lot of marketing around high-intensity interval training, boot camps, extreme challenges. And while those approaches can work for some people, they're not appropriate for everyone, especially if the foundational systems, balance, stability, neuromuscular coordination, aren't in place first. Intensity without control is a recipe for injury, especially as you age. And injury, for someone over 50, is not just a setback. It can mean months of lost progress, chronic pain, or in some cases, a permanent loss of function. So what actually needs to change? The first shift is from thinking about exercise as something you do to your muscles, to thinking about it as something you do with your nervous system. Your muscles don't move on their own. They respond to signals from your brain. And if those signals are slow, inefficient, or poorly coordinated, your movement quality suffers. This is why older adults often report feeling clumsy or uncoordinated, even though they're still relatively strong. The issue isn't muscular, it's neurological. This is why exercises that emphasize slow, controlled movement, balance challenges, and unilateral work, movements that train one side of the body at a time, are so valuable after 50. They force your nervous system to pay attention. They demand precision. They require your brain to recruit the right muscles at the right time in the right sequence. And over time, they retrain your brain to communicate more effectively with your muscles. Studies from institutions like the Mayo Clinic and the National Institutes of Health show that balance training, proprioceptive drills, and stabilizer activation can improve motor control and reduce fall risk even in adults over 70. The nervous system remains plastic throughout life. It can still learn. It can still adapt. But it needs the right stimulus. The second shift is understanding that progress after 50 looks different than it did before. When you were younger, progress meant lifting heavier weights, running faster times, doing more reps. After 50, progress means moving with more control, feeling more stable on your feet, recovering faster, and maintaining your independence. It means being able to bend down and pick something up without worrying about your back. It means being able to walk on a hiking trail without anxiety. It means being able to play with your grandchildren without fear. That doesn't mean you can't still challenge yourself. It doesn't mean you should lower your standards or settle for less. It just means the metrics of success have changed. And once you accept that, exercise becomes enjoyable again. It becomes empowering instead of frustrating. The third shift is recognizing that recovery is part of the training process, not a sign of weakness. After 50, your body needs more time to repair and adapt. Your inflammatory response is different. Your hormonal environment has changed. Your sleep patterns may have shifted. All of these factors affect how quickly you bounce back from a workout. This doesn't mean you need to train less frequently. It means you need to train more intelligently. It means paying attention to how your body feels, adjusting intensity and volume based on your energy levels, and building in adequate rest and recovery. Research shows that older adults who incorporate rest days, prioritize sleep, and manage stress levels see better long-term results than those who push through fatigue and soreness. The body doesn't adapt during the workout. It adapts during the recovery period. And if you're not giving it that time, you're undermining your own progress. Let me reframe what strength actually means after 50, because I think this is where a lot of confusion happens. Strength isn't just how much you can lift. It's whether you can carry your groceries without your back hurting. It's whether you can get up off the floor without using your hands. It's whether you can walk on uneven ground without worrying about losing your balance. It's whether you can stand on one foot to put your shoes on. It's whether you can reach overhead to get something off a high shelf without straining your shoulder. It's whether you feel confident in your body. And that confidence comes from more than muscle size. It comes from coordination, from stability, from knowing that your body will respond the way you need it to when it matters. It comes from trusting your balance, trusting your reflexes, trusting that you won't fall. Research consistently shows that older adults who maintain their balance and mobility live longer, stay independent longer, and report higher quality of life than those who focus solely on traditional strength metrics. The ability to move well is one of the strongest predictors of longevity and health span. This is not about vanity. This is about function. This is about being able to live the life you want to live on your own terms for as long as possible. So if you're over 50 and exercise doesn't feel the way it used to, I want you to hear this. Your body is not broken. It's changing. And the solution is not to work harder in the same way. The solution is to work smarter, to train the systems that matter most at this stage of life, and to give yourself permission to redefine what fitness looks like. You don't need to abandon the exercises you've been doing, but you may need to add new elements. Movements that challenge your balance. Movements that activate your stabilizers. Movements that train your nervous system to stay sharp and responsive. Exercises that emphasize control over speed, precision over power. And most importantly, you need to be patient with yourself. Adaptation takes time. Progress may be slower than it was before, but it's still progress, and it's still worth pursuing. Every small improvement in balance, every increase in stability, every moment where you move with confidence instead of hesitation, that matters. The people I've worked with over the years who've been most successful after 50 are not the ones who train the hardest. They're the ones who train the smartest. They're the ones who listened to their bodies, adjusted their approach, and focused on the right things. And they're the ones who, at 70, 80, even 90 years old, are still moving well, still living independently, still enjoying life. That can be you. But it starts with understanding what your body needs now, not what it needed 20 years ago. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me your name, your age, where you're watching from, and what aspect of exercise has felt most challenging for you lately. Building a community of people who understand these changes is one of the most powerful things we can do. We learn from each other. We support each other. And we realize we're not alone in this experience. And if you found this helpful, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. A friend, a family member, someone you know who's struggling with the same questions. The more people who understand how their bodies are changing, the more empowered we all become. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.